everyone, my name is Brittany. Each week we take a look at a story in the Bible, and right now we're talking about stories of Jesus. Now, there are a ton of stories of Jesus, like stories of him teaching and stories of him helping people, but right now we're taking a look at a special group of stories that show the incredible things Jesus did. Specifically, today we're going to be talking about a time when Jesus walked on water. Shortly after we see Jesus walking on water, we see Peter call out to Jesus and say, "If that's you, Jesus, call me out onto the water." And Jesus does. So Peter steps out and walks on the water too. Peter has to trust in Jesus' power because there is no way he could have ever walked on water on his own. We should trust and look to Jesus in our lives as well. That's why today we're saying every day I can trust Jesus. Before we talk about that, we're going to sing a song together. So go ahead, stand up, sing this out with us as loud as you can.
Every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. 'Cause there's a world outside that can't seem to make up its mind. It's saying this and that, that and this, everything's changing all the time. You are the light, the truth, the way. So I'll say, hey, every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Let everything I do honor you every day. I'll trust and obey every word you say, 'cause I know that you love me. I'm following your way every single day. I wanna be who you want me to be. You are the light, the truth, the way. So I'll say, hey, every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Let everything I do honor you every day. Every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Let everything I do honor you every day. Every day I can
trust you, Jesus.
Every day I choose
To honor you.
Every day I can
Reflect you to others.
Every day I am
Who you say I am.
You are the light, the truth, the way. And I'll follow you every day. I'll say, hey, every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Let everything I do honor you every day. Every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Let everything I do honor you every day. Hey, every day I choose Jesus, I will follow you. Hey, every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Hey, every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Hey, every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you.
You guys sounded so good. Thank you for singing along with us. And now we're going to take some time to watch a Bible story together. Like I said earlier, today we're going to be looking at the story of Jesus walking on water. So let's check it out.
Stories of the Bible. Peter walks on water. This is Peter.
Hey-o! Whoop!
Peter was a fisherman who was called by Jesus.
Hey!
Peter saw the many miracles of Jesus,
Whoa!
and he heard all his teachings. Great crowds followed Jesus wherever he went. One day after Jesus had done a great miracle, he sent the disciples in a boat across the lake while he stayed and sent the people home.
See ya!
Hey, Jesus.
After sending them home, Jesus went up into the hills by himself to pray. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from land, for a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. In their fear, they cried out, "It's a ghost!"
Hold on there.
But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage. I am here." Then Peter called to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." So Jesus said, "Yes, come." So Peter went over the side of the boat
Whoa, this is awesome.
and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves,
Whoa!
he was terrified and began to sink.
Jesus, help me!
"Save me, Lord!" he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. Jesus said, "You have so little faith. Why did you doubt me?" When they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. Then the disciples worshiped him and said, "You really are the Son of God."
The disciples were on a boat, caught in a huge storm when they saw Jesus walking on the water. What an incredible miracle! We're going to be talking more about that in a second, but first, I want you to imagine being one of the disciples on the boat, seeing Jesus walking on water in the middle of a huge storm. What would you be thinking as Jesus started walking on water towards the boat? I would encourage you to pause the video here and take a couple of minutes to talk about that. And then once you're done talking, unpause and continue the video. Our friend, Pastor Andrew, is going to be talking to us a little bit more about our story right now, so let's take a look.
Hey everybody, I want to try an experiment with you. It's really a fun one, and in a second, I'm going to give you a chance to try it with your friends or small group leader or parent or whoever. Here's how it's going to work. Everyone put your fingertips together like this, and then bend your middle fingers together and make your knuckles touch like this. And the entire time, imagine that your knuckles are glued together. You can't separate your middle fingers. Then one at a time, try to move your thumbs apart, your pointer fingers, your pinkies, and then last, try to move your ring fingers apart. It's super, super hard. I'm gonna set a timer. Here we go, give it a try. Yeah, that is pretty hard to do, right? Raise your hand if you could do it. Yeah, I couldn't do it. It's really fun to try, but it's really impossible. This reminds me when I was out at a summer camp a few summers ago, I saw a boy around your age throw a frisbee and it landed on the roof. I saw him and his friends immediately get upset because they knew they couldn't reach it, so their game was over. They even tried standing on chairs, but none of them could get to it. It was way too high for them to reach. It was impossible for them to get it, kind of like our experiment earlier. Now, I'm a pretty tall person, so I knew that I could reach it. So I walked over, and as soon as they saw me, they asked me to get it. So that's what I did. I reached up, got the frisbee, and their game was back on. So why did I tell you that story? I told you this story because I want to teach you something about God. Those boys would not have been able to get the frisbee for as long as they looked to themselves. But once they brought me into the picture, they got their frisbee back. Why? Because I'm just taller than they are. And this is kind of how it is with God. We might be facing something that we're not big enough or powerful enough to handle on our own. If we try to do it all by ourselves, we'll be just like the boys in the story. It won't be possible. But like the boys looked to me for help, God is both able and willing to help us. Think about our Bible story today. The disciples were on a boat and there was a huge storm, a lot like this one. There was wind and waves, and the disciples were scared. And to add to it, the disciples saw Jesus walking on the water. They thought he was a ghost. But then Jesus calmed them down by saying, "Don't be afraid, it's me." And then Peter said, Lord, if it is you, call me out on the water. So Jesus said, come. And sure enough, Peter stepped out of the boat and walked on water. Now notice what Peter did not say. He didn't say, if I can do this by my own strength, call me out on the water. Peter didn't focus on himself. He focused on Jesus. And Jesus ended up calming the storm. Sweet. Peter trusted that Jesus was more powerful than he was. Just like those boys trusted that I could get the frisbee down for them because I was taller than they were. It's easy for us to focus on what we can do or what we can't do when problems come up or there's a step in front of us that we need to take. But I want to encourage you today, don't focus on yourself, but focus on Jesus. Hebrews 12:1 and 2 says this, let us run the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus. There will be times in life where you won't know if you can do what God is calling you to do. You might feel nervous or afraid. You might feel like you aren't strong enough, but guess what? So many Bible characters thought the exact same thing. Gideon was afraid. Moses thought he couldn't talk well enough. Joshua was nervous. David was young. But here's what's cool. God still called all of those guys to do some amazing things. But did they do it by their own strength? No. They did it by God's strength. When a problem comes up or there's a step in front of you that seems scary, don't look to yourself. Look to Jesus. Trust Jesus, because here's the truth. God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. His grace is enough for you. In His perfect love, there's no room for fear. Even if you feel alone, He's with you, and He has prepared good works for you to do. But you can't do those good works on your own, and that's okay. Because Jesus doesn't need you to be perfect. He needs you to be willing. And when God calls us to follow Him, there will be times where we feel like we aren't enough, but that's okay because Jesus is enough. He's good, He's powerful, and He loves you. Trust in Him every day as you follow Him.
It's easy for us to focus on what we can or cannot do when problems come up or when there's a step in front of us that we need to take. If we're taking steps that God has for us, there are going to be times when we can't do it on our own. In those times, we need to trust Jesus. So, based on what we learned today, how can you live out trusting in Jesus this week? I would encourage you to talk with your parent or small group leader about that. And remember, every day we can trust Jesus. So that's it for this week, and thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.